everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I hope you guys have had a wonderful October, wonderful Halloween. I know I've been gone for a while, but I had the surgery at the end of last month. I had just a lot of stuff going on at the end of the month, and I had done like a halfway review of October, done and completed, but I didn't get it edited in time. So I'm going to be doing a full review of October plus November's TBR, because November's TBR is very, very small. So I figured we could kind of cram it into this video instead of doing like a video for like 9 books. So let me pop up my stuff and get right there. Alrighty guys, so this is my monthly stats for October. I know you guys have never seen this page before. But this is like one of the trackers. So as you can see, I'm using several trackers. One of the trackers, that can go away, that I use for all of my reading. These are my monthly stats. So I read a total of 26 books. I only completed 20. I read a total of 2,291 pages. I listened to 138.8 hours. I DNF'd 2 books. No rereads. I acquired 8 books. One was gifted and one I got from a free little library. And then I had 27 library checkouts. Tis that. These are the books completed throughout the year. You can see I started off really small and then they just slowly get bigger, and then this was, I think, the biggest month. Yes. All of my ratings for the month, you can see I had a couple that weren't so great, like 3 that were under 2 stars, 1 that was under 1 star, a couple 2 stars, 1 3.25, 1 3.75, and then 4, 4.5, 4.75, and then a couple 5 stars. My genres, these are the ones that I read most in the month. I also have it compared to like how much I do during the year, so I can kind of, it's fun. I read 1 classic. I mean, like, all this, you can see it all for yourself. If you want to read it, you can pause it. I just kind of like wanted to show this to you guys. These are my book links. The shortest book I physically read was this book, which I refuse to read out loud. The shortest book I listened to was The Reptile Room. Yes. And the longest book I read was Mockingjay with 390 pages. The longest book I listened to was The Three Musketeers with 23.55 hours. Lots of time. Different publication years. You can see them all here. Where I get them from. You know, if I got them from a book box, if I borrowed them from somebody. Everend, I've never heard of Everend before. I actually kind of like copied this from another person's book tracker that I bought. I'm going to, these are like things like I keep on here so I can like really kind of keep track of them, I guess. Like maybe I want to look into what Everend is and all that stuff. Source type, whether it was a physical book, an ebook, or an audiobook, or a mixture of the two, of two or more. What formatting, graphic novel, novella, webtoon. Subgenres right here. You'll notice most of them is romance. Right here, publication type, whether it be indie, traditional, or self-published. We have my diverse little chart here. So basically, is a book diverse? Yes. In that diversity, is it part of the LGBTQIA+? Yes or no? You can see I had 2 books that were not part of the LGBTQIA, but they were still counted as diverse. So I did 23.8% of my books were LGBTQIA out of all my diverse books. So far I've got about 20% for the year, so that's pretty cool. Fiction versus nonfiction, only 7.69 were nonfiction this year, and that's okay. I'm okay with this. This is just fun, you know, seeing the different colors of the books and all that stuff. Obviously, the most for this month was black. What country the author is from. That's what this is right here. This is what country the author is from. I even have like a little unknown here. And then this over here is a map showing, like if you click on it, we have Canada. For the month we have 1. For the United States we have 15. Some of these are 0, like Russia's 0, Australia 0, New Zealand is 0. So all the ones that are really, really orange you can see over here are 0. And then of course the US is 15. And then each of them They don't really do too much. I think mostly just like one or two. So you don't really see too much of a difference in shade. And then, of course, where they are, who's published them, whether it be like one of these indie publishers that I've added, or the big name publishers such as Penguin Random House. I think that's really it for this page. Again, if you want to look more into it, you can pause it. My average rating of the month was 3.61. So with that being said, let's go ahead and dive right into the readathons. So I did the Fable and Readathon. This is the Fable and TBR when I was doing the prompts. After I went up to my visit with my family, I stopped doing the prompts because we learned that my grandfather has cancer. I had my surgery. I mean, there was just a bunch going on those last 2 weeks of the month, but these are the ones I did the first couple weeks. I read through all of them. I managed to turn them all in. I was having a lot of fun with it, but then I had to kind of go to NPC mode, which is unfortunate. So that's why these part aren't filled in. There's not a second page of them, but I did have fun with it. I had a lot of fun doing the Fable and TBR. This was the one I'm focused on primarily, as you can see, because they're all complete. But I had a lot of fun. Next one was Gothtober. As you can see, it's really the only one. This is just kind of like how it was. I didn't get to all of them. The 6 that we got. So the 6 that we got, with the actual doing the little game, I managed to complete 3 out of the 6. And then, of course, we had 3 extra, which is our LGB, our disability, and then our BIPOC author. I completed 2 of those out of the 3. The horror-a-thon, I managed to get most of the books I was wanting to read. The only ones I did not get to were Go the Distance, What Once Was Mine, and then I did not finish The Kingmaker's Daughter. I did read, this was the team book, so I did finish the team book. Here's another showing, same thing. I crossed out each one. I really like this little D&D X. I just absolutely love it. So you'll be seeing a lot of it. And then we had the team book. But yeah. The Rebellion, reading Rebellion, there is one right here. It is a very, very X-rated. So no, I did not. It is there. You can physically see it's there, but it is completely and totally transparent because I'm not showing that on YouTube. But I did get a majority of these completed so far over the last couple months. I did change this one out to Cemetery Boys. We have the moon there. We also have a whole bunch of, I think those are lights, which it was the requirement for this thing. So I only have 2 more left. For the objectives, I completed Objective 2 with the book Slade. Didn't really like it too much, but I did complete it. For the game of TBR, again, we have 2 here that were my lowest rated ones on Goodreads. I did finish them. I did rate them, but I'm not going to show them because I don't want to be this video to be blacklisted or whatever. I did finally finish Snow Like Ashes, which I really enjoyed. I also finished the Reptile Room. I did not get to these 3, which I'm very sad for, but I did start Dark Shores and Together We Burn. I just didn't finish them. Dungeons and Books, I did not I'm still working on it. This is supposed to be a different color. The Herkiad 1.0, I did not get to the Lies of Black Lamora, which is the last one I need. So for Herkiad 2.0, I got to re-roll my roll 3 times. So by the time I got to this one, I only had 1 book left, which was my French one, The Three Musketeers. And then I got the disability rep. Well, I already had 3 on the disability rep, so I plopped in Fourth Wing with the EDS, the Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which basically means like your joints are a lot weaker. So this is what the main character actually has, I learned. And then we did Mockingjay with PTSD. I rolled it again. I got the queer alphabets. So I already had 3 covered. I had the gay, the lesbian, and the bisexual or pansexual covered. But I needed transgender, intersex, asexual, polyamory, non-binary, or agender, and then gender fluid or two-spirit. So these are the 6 that go in. I've finished 3 of these 6 that I needed for it, which I'm really excited about. Some I liked more than others, but that's just how that's just how it goes sometimes. The final one is the A-star viewer prompt. The prompt has to start with a U. I chose Unearthly. Absolutely love this book. Absolutely loved it. So this is the book so far. The one that I chose for October was To Die For. It's a cookbook of gravestone recipes. And what that is when you say you're going to take something to the grave, some of these people took it literally and put recipes on their gravestones. And this woman, Rosie Grant, went through and actually found them, and it was absolutely amazing. I loved the book. And I want to try some of these recipes. So they're like really, really good. And this is the only other one I think that has changed because we have our trans with Cemetery Boys. Oh no, these are flower petals. My apologies. And then we have Loveless for our asexual, which is out from Alice Osman. I only need 2 more of Questioning and Intersex, and I think at least one of these is also covered by Herkia 2.0. The Intersex is covered by Herkia 2.0, so then I will only need the Questioning. So for Herkia, there you are, Herkia 2.0, the books that I had read during the month that covered different prompts, we have the Three Musketeers covering the 600 range. Now I just need to cover something from the 700 range, which I think could be 700 plus. I think you can do like 1,000 book or page book or whatnot. Mysterious Staircase, I put the Red Queen in here. Now I just need to add the Kingmaker's Daughter and start the trilogy portion. I do plan on doing the Plantagenet and Tudor novels to cover the rest of this, by the way. So it'll be the Kingmaker's Daughter, the White Princess, and then all the books that follow. Because it's like a 14-book series. Awards season, we had Unearthly was an entrant, and then Fourth Wing was a winner of one of the Goodreads Choice Awards. I just need 4 more. I need either 1 more winner or 2 finalists and 2 semifinalists. The Last 10 Years was we also had an added entry for Fourth Wing for 2023. I think that's it. Right now I'm currently reading A Girl with the Make-Believe Husband, which is the second book in the Bridgerton prequel of the Roguespies, and that was 2017, so that's kind of where I am now. Heritage Months, Cemetery Boys covered the Hispanic Heritage Month. It also covers Dia de los Muertos, which I really kind of... Dia de los Muertos actually takes place in November. I think it was like yesterday, from yesterday to today, I think. I don't remember the exact time frame. But it also covers the Hispanic heritage. For the indigenous heritage, I do plan on reading Warrior Girl Unearthed. And then I can put a pause on the heritage months for at least a couple months before Black History Month. And yeah. Here's my translation challenge. You can see the Three Musketeers. Alright, so Spooky Creatures was completed. We had Wicked Lovely covering the Fae. So I managed to complete that one. Very exciting. For Animal Friends, I managed to cover it with 2. We had a cat in Summer Nights. He is called Mister. He's not really there. He's not very prominent, but he is in there whenever he goes home to visit or goes home and all that stuff. Then we have Exotic Pets. So we did the Reptile Room with snakes. Lots of snakes. Here's our queer alphabet, so you guys can see how that is going. We're almost there. We just got 3 more to go. New releases, we had To Die For October. And then I have some potentials for November and December already on here. I just don't know what I'm going to pick yet. For BIPOC, we did do... I want to say the Song of Wraiths and Ruins is new, and then of course Iron Widow is new. These are both... this author is actually was an immigrant to Canada, but she is Chinese. And then we have a Ghanaian American who wrote the Song of Wraiths and Ruins, so those are really interesting. Again, I love like looking into this because these are things I don't know. Challenge Yourself we got the first part complete with 1 book out of 5. I just need to do 4 more, and I'm really excited to complete those. Here is currently our bingo board. As you can see, it's coming in nicely since we are only in the first half of it. We still have a whole 6-7 months to go. I feel like I'm going through it very well for now. Some of them I'm doing as they come up, such as the releases, the heritage months. Those are kind of like as they come up. But I feel like I'm doing fairly well with some of these. I'm really excited for them. This is another challenge, or not another challenge, another tracker that I use. You can see here, like, it does, like, what ones I've started and finished each day of the month. You can see the beginning of the month was, like, boom, 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 boom. They were just coming out like crazy. But when I left for my grandparents on the 19th, you see it definitely slowed down just a whole bunch because I was in the hospital for so long and things like that. So average rating of books I actually completed was 3.71. Books read 20, pages read 6,530. This one doesn't have audiobook hours, so I went and found what the page numbers roughly would be for those audiobooks, so that's why that one is such a large thing. DNF'd 2 books. According to this, I started 13 series, but I don't hold this accountable because of the fact that it's not accurate. I am trying to redo it to where it is accurate, but at the moment it's not accurate. Top 5 genres were 7. I had read 7 fantasy books, 3 romance, 2 historical fiction, 2 nonfiction, and 2 science fiction. And then there were 4 others, all mixed in there. 8 of the books I read were audiobooks, 4 were ebooks, 3 hardback, 5 paperback, and of those I owned 5, and I borrowed 15. But the first book that I did complete with a rating of 3.95 was The Three Musketeers. Three Musketeers, I read it over audiobook. I read it on 2 times speed so I could get through it. Sometimes there are books you just cannot get through, and so you kind of have to zoom through them as much as possible. Three Musketeers was that for me. This follows the story. This actually is the beginning of a series. It follows one of the Musketeers named D'Artagnan. D'Artagnan is going to be the newest of the 3 Musketeers, and you see him and his 4 friends kind of going through life. This has like multiple point of views. You even get the point of view of some of like the villain of the story, and it's really good story. Alexander, I believe his name is Alexander, correct? Alexander Dumas did an absolutely wonderful job with the story. It's just, unfortunately, it is so heavy on the exposition that I personally just cannot always get through it. So reading in an audiobook at 2 times speed is the way I got through Ana Karenina. It's the way I got through this one. It's unfortunate, but it's kind of the way it had to go. The next book I finished with a 4.85 rating is Unearthly. Unearthly is the story of a girl who is a quarter angel. She has each quarter angel, half angel, they each have their own purpose. And they come to them in their dreams, which is really cool. Ooh, sorry guys, small ache along my incision line. But they each have their own purpose, and her purpose was they moved from California all the way to Minnesota, I think it was. So that was interesting. That was very interesting. And her purpose was to save a boy from a forest fire. Well, in the end, she ends up falling for a completely different guy and goes to save, and she comes, in the end, it comes down to a choice, her purpose or this boy that she's fallen for. And she makes her choice. And so I'm assuming that the next book is going to be like the repercussions of said choice. Or, it's kind of like a love triangle sort of thing, it seems like. It's really, really good. It was really good. I absolutely loved it. I'm sorry about the dog. It was really good. I absolutely loved it. I can't recommend it more, and I'm super excited to get to the rest of the series. That one is the beginning of another series. Like I said, another series as well. Let me see if I can find the name of it. This series was just called Unearthly by Cynthia Hand. One of the books I did not get through, I tried to get through it. I think I've actually started it I started at the beginning of the month, was called The Phoenix. And this was an art grade. Anytime I was reading it, I was in it. I was there. But it was so easy for me to put down and walk away and never come back. So unfortunately, because I was on a very, very small time frame with that one, I did put it down. I did not go back to it. That's not to say that the author does a bad job. It's just one of those, I want more time with it than what I had available to me. The next book that I had finished, we're going to go with finished, was Emma by Jane Austen. Jane Austen is an author that I absolutely love. I love Pride and Prejudice with my whole heart, and in fact, those little um, books that could take place like afterwards, like what happens to Lydia afterwards, what happens to Jane, and all this other stuff. I'm actually like, they're all on my TBR because I absolutely love them. I love that fans have gone in and done that, and I'm trying to figure out like where are they now sort of situation. But Emma was a little harder to get through. I had seen the movie already before I'd ever read the book, so I knew how it was going to end. I knew everything about it. And really, the movie did a really good job with this book. I'm trying to move the book from one to the other, or from one source of entertainment to the other. Emma is a character who is very sure of herself. She plays matchmaker for everyone. She's very sure of like what she does is that everything's going to be fine because she has determined that that's what's going to happen. Well, in the course of the book, she actually decides, something happens, and she decides, you know what, I'm not going to matchmake anymore. And so it's a story of her going from matchmaker to not matchmaker to finding a match of her own. And then realizing that she possibly did something to damage a very beloved friend's relationship. And it's her learning to be a better person. And I absolutely loved it. I did only rate it a 3.8 altogether. So it was a 4-star book. That being said, though, I still did love it. There was just little bits in here and there that I didn't like. But again, I was listening to it on audiobook. I'm going to have to go back and reread it on the physical copy to see if maybe there is a difference in listening to it at 2 times speed versus actually physically reading it for myself and being able to consume that medium that way. The next book I finished was the first book in the Wicked Lovely series called Wicked Lovely. This was a cute little book. It seemed like it was going to be like a romantasy style book, but it's really not. You have this girl who has the sight. She can see into across the veil, through the veil of the Fae. And you have this Fae who is called the Summer King. Well, his thing is he every so often, not every year, but every so often, he goes and he tries to woo a human girl in order to get her to be his summer queen. And he has chosen our protagonist for this, our female protagonist for this. But she loves someone else, and she essentially tells him to back the F off, which gets him very confused. But there's also the fact that he's still in love with someone else as well, one of his previous picks. He loves her, very, very much so. I apologize about the dog again. He's very loud today. Sorry. He's not a bad guy. He's trying to essentially overthrow his mother, who is the Winter Queen. She's not the greatest of people, to be honest. But something different takes place this go around instead of all the other go arounds. If my camera is shaking, I'm sorry. I'm like resting my elbows on it, and I'm talking with my hands. Sorry. But she tells one of her people to interfere, which is against the rules. So you know something is happening if she's trying to go against the rules when she's never done it before. A cute book. I'm not a particular fan of the appearance of the love interest for our female protagonist, or one of our female protagonists. But it's a cute book. I really liked it. I do have the next one, which I'm excited to read. It's called Ink Exchange. But it takes place with a completely different couple. So I'm actually really curious because I want to know how it's going to go, The next book I finally finished, I should say, was technically a reread. And it was Mockingjay. I tried reading this back when it was still all shiny and new, but I did not get to finish it. Something just kept pulling me out. So I did finally finish it. And yes, I did love it. It got a 4.8 rating out of 5. So I did really enjoy it. It was a really good book. Just goes to show kind of like how they do better, how they go through their PTSD and finally are able to get like some solace or some closure for what happened to them. I think that both movies did the best that they could. I kind of wish that they had done better with the aging for the epilogue portion of it, where they show her she's supposed to be much older whenever her and Peeta have kids, but that's the way that goes. I was very sad to actually read what happened to Finnick instead of watching it and then wondering, because I hadn't read it, so it was a little confusing. I was very, very sad what happened to Prim. And but I feel like because I actually read it, or because I actually watched the movie, I knew what had happened. I feel like if you read it through the books, you would take so long to figure out what the frack happened to Prim. Is she injured? Is she on death's door? And they never actually tell you until several pages later, or several moments later, scenes later, that she had actually died, which is very, very disheartening. And the fact that the mom just kind of gave up on everything, on Katniss, on everything, and focused solely on her work is also very sad. But we all work through things our own way, and that's just how that goes. The next book I managed to complete was Several People Are Typing. This was the one that was just shy of 1 star. It was 0.75 stars. It's literally people on like a group. Sorry. Literally people on like a job group chats, and then they go to some private stuff. It was very confusing. The audiobook did very, very well because they had each person be a different voice actor, or different voice actors. So they did very, very well. That way they could try and make it a little different. That being said, no. It's not my style of book. I just I don't like that style of book. It was a very quick read. It followed the prompt that it needed, but I just don't like that style of book. But that's just a me thing. I'm sure that there are other people who absolutely enjoyed it. The next book I attempted to get through was Midnight Sun, which is the final book of the Twilight series. I think my body physically repels the Twilight books now. I tried to get through it, but I would read like 5 pages and I would want to blow my head off. That being said, yes, I read the other 4 books. Yes, I've seen and own all the movies. Yes, I even have my own fan fiction out for it. But I couldn't do it. It is what it is. The next book I actually got through was Cemetery Boys. That is was my trans pick. I rated it 3.2. There was supposed to be this big mystery that I was really excited for, but the mystery fell very, very short of the main fact of everything he was going through as a trans man, or trans boy, I guess, technically. Because he wasn't of age. And I felt like that was the author kind of lost everything on that one on me. I was not a particular fan of that aspect. I wanted to know more about the mystery. And it's like, for me, it was one thing if it was opposite. Like, if you focused on the mystery and had sprinkles of the complications that he was going through his life, I think that would have been much better. But you have this mystery and you're literally sprinkling it in every 30 pages, every 30 to 50 pages. And you're focusing on the relationship between him and the spirit, or him and his cousin, or him and his family because he's trans. You're losing me. I think that, because what drew me in was the mystery. It wasn't the fact that the character was trans, although that helped with that prompt. What drew me into wanting to read the book wasn't the fact that he was trans. It was the mystery of what happened to Miguel. And so you lost me. Again, it was a good book. I do want to read the second one, but I'm not sure how much I want to read the second one because of the way that this one was written. The next one I did get to read was Braided Heritage. So Braided Heritage is a cookbook, but in before each portion of it, it's a very unique cookbook. So give me a moment here to tickle your interest here. This cookbook, which I rated 4.92, so you have a little bit of a history for each of the sections. Each section is a different time frame, I guess. First section is Native American. And you go over some Native American recipes. Maybe not exactly how they were made back in the day, but more of a modern, maybe a modern iteration of it. But things that they would have made during a time frame before the colonists arrived. And the second one was you had colonists. So you had some English, French, and I think German dishes in there, which was really cool. Next one, I can't remember all of them, but I know you had like Black American cuisine, and I was like, it was really cool because you also got like a whole deep dive into some of the historical behind the actual, not the dishes, but like the time frame that they would have been in, and I thought that was absolutely amazing. The next one I did read was The Reptile Room, which is the second book in the Lemony Snicket series, A Series of Unfortunate Events. I've started this book who knows how long ago, and I absolutely loved it. I just never finished it, so I was finally able to finish it with finish the second book with The Reptile Room, and I'm really excited to continue it. It was a 4.5 read. Absolutely, again, I just absolutely enjoyed it. The next book I did read was Snow Like Ashes. Snow Like Ashes is not what I was fully expecting. I figured that there would be more to it than what I knew, but I was not expecting it, if that makes sense. So, Snow Like Ashes, you have several kingdoms. You have like seven? Yes, 7 kingdoms, 4 season, 3 rhythmic. I believe that's how they call it. So you have your season kingdoms are smaller than your rhythmic kingdoms, but they're the ones closer to the source of the magic. But only the rulers can use the magic. Your protagonist she was raised to fight, and all this other, there's absolutely amazing story by Sarah Rosh? I don't know how to pronounce her last name. But it was absolutely amazing, and I absolutely loved it. But yeah, so you have their main protagonist. She wants to fight for her people. She wants to fight. She wants to absolutely to fight. She's fallen for the heir to the throne. But she knows that she can never have him because he's going to have to marry for a political alignment. Or political, for political reasons. There you go. He's going to have to marry for political reasons. Hold on. Where was I? Sorry, I had to go check on the dogs. But she goes on a mission to try and help her people and to find something that they need. And again, well, in the end, the people, because the court, again, it's a really good book. That's what I'm going to say. That's good. I'm going to leave it. I absolutely loved it. And so definitely recommend it. It was a 4.4 rating for me. The only reason it was 4.4 is I want to say there were a few bits that maybe I didn't like, but again, it was an audiobook that I was listening to. I'm not such a huge fan of audiobooks. Are you done? But again, they're just not always for me, and I try to pay attention, but I'm always doing something else. So that's how that goes. The next book I did read was Fourth Wing, 4.95, or one of my first 5-star read of the month. Absolutely loved it. My aunt has told me just wait till the third one. And I'm like, oh, shite. I'm so excited to continue on with the series. This one, again, was my disability read, which I actually looked up to see if it would count. It does. Yay! So I finally got to read it, and I was super excited, and I absolutely demolished it the best I could. That one is, as we know, a girl is told by her mother she has to join the Dragon Rider militia because their military is broken into several pieces. One of the top of them is the Dragon Riders. They are basically the creme de la creme of the militia, and so she joins the militia. She does what her mother tells her to do, even though she was supposed to be a scribe, due to her weak joints and her weak body. And there's just so much going on in there. But she manages to complete the first test, and she ends up also meeting a guy who her mother is basically responsible for him being an orphan for. And she is very worried that he's out to get her the entire time that she's there. She also meets with a childhood friend of hers who's constantly trying to protect her, make sure she's as safe as she can be. She makes a friend while she's there. I mean, it's absolutely phenomenal, this book. The author did absolutely amazing with this book. The next book I did read was Loveless. Again, this one was only a 2.9 rating, so a 3-star rating. Or 2.75 rating. I did like the book. It was a very cute book. It was a very interesting take on finding out. So this book starts off with a girl who is very much wants romance. And she thinks there's something wrong with her. She's never had a boyfriend, never had a girlfriend. She loves the idea of love. But as we learn in the story, the thoughts of being physical with someone or even being in a relationship with someone romantically turns her off. I mean, it's a complete disgust thing for her. And as we know now, that's what is labeled as aromantic or asexual. But I want to say this real quick. If you don't want to label yourself as something, you don't have to. So the fact that it's a labeling thing, I feel like this is more of a labeling thing than anything else. Again, I did enjoy the book. She was looking for something to label what she thought was wrong with her, and in fact, there was nothing wrong with her. She just doesn't like the idea of being physical or being even in a relationship with someone, which is perfectly fine. If that is what, that one makes you happy, there are other relationships in your life. You have your family, your friends. You don't need to have that. You want to have kids. There's adoptions possibilities. So this was her learning how to love herself with this realization that she was never going to be in a romantic relationship. She was never going to be intimate with anybody. So it was that sort of deal. Again, though, it was really good. I really enjoyed it. And I do recommend it for someone who wants to kind of like a window into what that might be like for someone. Me personally, again, not my kind of story. I love romances. I love things like that. So not my kind of story, but still a good story to read. The next book I completed was The Iron Widow. Now, this one was a polyamory one, and I was very worried about going into it because there's so many different things about polyamory. You have one that's essentially an open relationship where you have a couple and they decide, you know what, being just the two of us is not great. We're going to also go to have other partners and so on and so forth outside of the relationship. Again, if you choose to do this, that is fine. That is up to you. But in my mind, that's more of an open relationship, and that's been around for who knows how long. Although you have medieval kings with mistresses, so I mean, like, that's just what that is. But then you have another version of polyamory, which for me is more the actual definition of it, and that is you have a couple, and they bring in a third or fourth or whatever. They bring in another person into the relationship, so they are what was coined at one point as a throuple, or they'd have more than one. But basically, the person they bring in is not only in a relationship with the one person in that original couple, they're also in a relationship with the other person. So you honestly have, again, what was called at one point a throuple, I think, and that's what you get out of Iron Widow. So Iron Widow has very ancient Chinese traditions, foot binding. Women are very much beneath men in this tradition, or in this story. It's one of those that you kind of have to read it yourself to see if it's something you could get behind. I feel like this is very much a feminist book. This is very much a book written for a modern audience. But it was very, very good. I mean, like, don't get me wrong, I absolutely loved it. I rated it 4 stars. But I feel like it was definitely geared more towards our modern audiences in the next decade when things change, or the next 2 decades when things change. This book might not be as well received, if that makes sense. I feel like there was absolutely very, very no character growth, with the exception of the learning some information, which I was not a fan of. But you have your main character, who is our female protagonist. She's been meeting in secret with a boy from a very high-ranking family, even though she is what's coined as a frontier girl. So basically, she lives in a small village on the frontier of their country. Her feet are bound, so she can't walk very well. Well, she's also going to be enlisting into the militia. Only when women enlist in the militia, there's a very high mortality rates. So it's not great in that particular aspect. I wonder why right there. That's why. Because they go into this, like, what do they call it, a chrysalis? I believe they're called a chrysalis. And they are the second pair, they're a pairing, like, the man controls the actual machine, so it's kind of like having a big giant mech. So it's a bit of sci-fi. And then the woman is also supplying power to the guy to able to transform the mech and all this other stuff. So they're adding more chi, that's what it is, chi. So again, this is a lot of stuff with it. Again, I really enjoyed the book, but I feel like there was very little to no character growth. And almost none at all from the main character. The polyamory aspect, I think, was done very well, because it was that relationship where not only were they the main couple in a relationship together, but then they added on the third, and he was in a relationship with both, not just her. So no, they were not brother. They were. I'm not even going to try and explain how that goes. But again, it was very, very good. I really enjoyed it. I do recommend it. I do want to buy it as well. So that lets you know how much I actually enjoyed it. I do want to buy it for myself. I enjoyed it. I think it was very well done. But again, I think it's geared more towards a modern audience than it would be in the next 2-3 decades. The next book I did finish was The Red Queen, which was one of my historical fictions by Philippa Gregory. I know there's a lot of questioning whether or not Philippa Gregory does a good job with her series, with her Tudor and Plantagenet series specifically. I enjoyed it. I do not know a lot about this particular woman. So this is the story of Lady Margaret Beaufort, who is the mother of King Henry VII, who started the Tudor dynasty. So he was royal through her. She was the cousin of King Henry VI. And this is the story of her life from before she got married to her very short marriage, her lack of a desire to consummate and be physical in that said marriage, her very traumatic birthing of her son, to how her life then goes also to her second husband, Lord Stafford. Henry Stafford, I think it was. Yes, Sir Henry Stafford, not Lord. Sir Henry Stafford. And going through her marriage with him, and then to her husband, Thomas Stanley, and how her relationship with him really helped put her son on the throne. There is one aspect of it that I'm not a particular fan of, and that's the fact that they're basically saying that she caused the death of the princes in the tower. Or she is a potential cause of the death of the princes in the tower, because it came down to, well, it's either her son or the princes, the young princes. And she chose her son, as any mother would do in that scenario. I don't like the fact that they basically put it all on her, though. I do like the fact that she's sitting there complaining about Elizabeth Woodville, who is King Edward's wife, and saying that all of her plans are, it's really good, and I really enjoyed that bit of it. Those last few years that are covered are definitely the most, really pulling you in. I really did love this book, but this is also the time period that I'm really, really interested in. From the War of the Roses all the way to the end of the Tudor dynasty is really the area of my focus. Although right now the book I'm writing takes place several years prior to this, a full century almost prior to that. So I really enjoy the medieval ages. So I think that's one thing that really gets me. I also have not done a lot of research into Lady Margaret myself. One thing that does get me is that Philippa Gregory does say that she is a historian. From the sounds of it, it's better to say that she's an amateur historian, like I say about myself. Apologies. I think, yeah. So I think that's the thing. I know with the White Princess, I probably will not like it as much, because there's going to be a major personality difference to what the actual Elizabeth of York was, to what the book Elizabeth of York is. But that being said, I'm going to give it a good college try on trying to enjoy it, just thoroughly enjoying it and things like that. And the next book I plan on finishing is The Kingmaker's Daughter, which is the story of Queen Anne Neville, who was Richard III's wife. Very tragic story from this show that I watched. I plan on doing a full review of the 3 books and their TV show and versus their historical counterparts, what little I know, so that's going to be so much fun. But I want to get through this book first. The next book I finished was The Love Hypothesis. The Love Hypothesis was so frackin' cute. I started on the 19th, and then I found out my grandfather has cancer on that same day, so it took me a while to actually finish the book. But it was so cute. I loved it with all the bits and pieces I got. Let me see what it rated. I rated it 4 stars as well. You're noisy today, book. Or thingy. But again, I absolutely loved it. It is the story of a girl who has to decide to go, she's her graduate degree, getting a graduate degree for pancreatic cancer, a way to kind of detect it easily for someone who might not have enough money to be able to detect pancreatic cancer. And she enters a fake relationship with a professor, not her professor, let it be clear, but a professor also in the science department. And she learns a lot, I think, in those moments. It's absolutely adorable. I love it. Just the shenanigans that happens. It's one of those, like, I was pretty much laughing and kicking my feet in the air. You know, like one of those things, like, you know, you fall back and you're just kicking your feet in the air because you're laughing. Yeah, that's pretty much how it was, although I wasn't physically doing it. But it was so cute and it was so good. I highly recommend it. The next one I finished was Slade. I started this right after my surgery. It wasn't as good as I hoped it was. It sounded like it was supposed to be kind of like a retelling of Dracula, which I was really excited for. But in the end, it really wasn't. Again, we're back to having like little to no character growth from any of the characters. And this one, you had a girl. It's the descendants of the original Dracula's family. So you have Van Helsing and the Harker families. You have their descendants having to be forced to work together, but you never see the Harker family. It's essentially all about the main character, who is the youngest member of the Van Helsing family, going through and showing this other person how to slay vampires, and then finding a way to kind of get out of it, I guess. I don't know. It's very weird. I wasn't a fan of it. I was hoping it would get a lot better, but it never did. And then there's this mystery which is introduced in the beginning and then disappears for the entire middle, and then it comes back at the end. And it's like the same thing with Cemetery Boys. That's the only part of it that I didn't like. The next book I did finish was Summer Night, which is the 4th book in the Dresden Files. Summer Night was really good. I absolutely enjoyed it. You get introduced to characters that are from the main character's past, and so I was really happy with it. So basically this is repercussions of what happened in the previous book, when he has to learn. He's trying to find a way to change what had happened, or to fix what had happened in the previous book. But he's basically letting life literally slide by when he enters into a deal with Mab, the Queen of Winter. Because this Summer Night is dead. So apparently in the Fae you have like 3 queens on each side, and then you have their knights. So you have the queen that was, the queen that is, and the queen that will be. And then you had their knight who does the bidding of all 3. So the Summer Knight was killed, and now he has to try and figure out what happened, and how to stop this war from happening. He also has a lot of personal stuff going on. Super good. I definitely highly recommend this book series to everybody. The final book I read was my October monthly release, which was To Die For, which I've already kind of told you about that. It's a cookbook with the gravestone recipes. So finally, for our November TBR, like I said, it's going to be a really chill month. There's only like 9 books on this TBR. We're finishing up the Reading Rebellion with Lightlark and Between Wrath and Mercy. We're also going to be doing Heir to the Shadows, which will finish up the objectives, plus the dungeons and books, which means I'll be able to do the TBR Game Changer. We're going to be finishing up with The Lies of Locke Lamora, and that inevitable Victorian thing, Spellbound, and The Palace of Eros for our queer alphabet. We also have our A-star viewer prompt with The Kingmaker's Daughter. The other one I'm going to do is there is a Fable Fable club that I'm in, and we are reading In the Veins of Drowning. I will be, of course, finishing. I've actually just started that at the beginning of this month. And I will be completing that this month as well, because this is the final month to complete it. But yeah, so yeah, I think that's it for October and November. This video is probably going to definitely be longer, Just looking at the recording, I've been recording for over an hour, so I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to come back whenever for more of stuff, I guess. I'm really enjoying all the books. I'm really enjoying everything. Yeah, so hopefully I'll be able to get through the rest of the month and finish off a few things. Really excited to continue on with Herkid 1.0 and 2.0. I'm going to be very excited to get off this small booktubers wreck, I'm going to be honest, and then be able to do another one of the prompts because super excited for that one. Anyway, I will see you guys next time. I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to come back for more. I do have other videos planned. I just haven't gotten to them yet. And I'll see you guys next time. Happy reading.